Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. You have joined me on Saturday, November 2nd, and this is probably going to be like a two-part vlog. It's supposed to start raining in a few hours, and I first wanted to show you guys, as you saw in the clips before this, what the garden is looking like at the beginning of November. And then I want to continue with my garden cleanup. This week is our yard waste spin week, so I want to take out the rest of the pumpkin stuff, finish taking out all my tomatoes and my beans, and then unfortunately the beautiful flowers on my patio, they started drooping over. We haven't had a frost yet, but this week I saw we have 2 days where you get down to 32, and they're just not gonna survive that, and they won't look nice, so I'm just gonna take them out. But yeah, I wanted to take you along today and just show you what's going on around the garden, and then since I won't be able to be out here for very long today, I'll probably do I'll probably film some more in the next few days of more cleanup. And then also at the end of this vlog, I want to just go over some of the things that I've learned this year in my garden, and some things that I'm not going to do next year, and something like go over some more things that I want to try more of and grow more of. So join me for that at the end of this vlog. But first, I'm going to start taking out the rest of my tomatoes. It's just 2 cherry tomato plants. I believe one is a sun gold and one is a sweet cherry. And then taking down the bean support, and that one's going in the garbage, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet with the chicken wire that's on it, so we'll see. But yeah, come along with me for some days out in the garden and some more fall garden cleanup. So I was looking, and there's actually some pretty good sized radishes. I thought that they weren't going to do anything, but I thought we could harvest some together. I'm going to leave the smaller ones, but this guy looks pretty good. And they're not really nibbled on, which is awesome too. They look pretty good. Pretty small, but I think they should taste great. Hey guys, it's several days later since the last clips. I was going to come out here today and finish taking out the flowers, like the cosmos and the Mexican sunflower that are over off the patio. But we've had some unseasonably warm weather. It's been super mild this fall. We've had rain, but not, I mean, to me, it hasn't been like a complete washout. But it's been unseasonably warm. I'm out here in just like a thin shirt and I feel great. I mean, there's a little nip in the air, but it's not like super cold. But I decided to leave them out because I've seen a lot of bees fluttering from flower to flower, and I just want to leave some food source for them until the frost comes so that they have a little leg up on winter preparation. But I wanted to come out here and just talk about the gardening season this year because it's been quite an abundant one, and it's just every year I just learn some like new things, and I want to go over what I want to grow more of next year and also what I want to grow less of. what my focuses for next year are going to be and what I need to do out here to get ready for the next growing season. But yeah, so I thought I'd just go over some of that stuff with you today, and yeah, just a little bit of a chit chat to end this video. Alright, so for the first part, I want to talk about things that I've learned. This year we planted together a lot of radishes. We planted radishes in the spring, and then we planted radishes just a few weeks ago for a fall crop. And I really had a hard time growing radishes this year. And also, I feel like my carrots have struggled quite a bit. So I think one thing that I've learned is that I need to treat, I mean, they're both root vegetables, okay? But I've usually get an okay crop of radish, and I just didn't this year, so I'm going to be treating them similarly, obviously, in regard to like soil, like how compacted the soil is where I grow them. I also think that I might rotate them to a different bed next year. They're usually in this bed. I have them in the same bed every year, and that could also be a reason why. And the nice thing about radishes is they're supposed to only take a month to produce fruit, right? Well, these radishes have been in for at least 2 months, and I've only gotten like 5 radishes, and the greens look okay. They don't get very big, and then some of the radishes are just like little tiny things, and they're not even bulbed out either. So I think I definitely want to go through and maneuver soil in both of my beds, actually, both of my big raised beds. And then also the one that's across the yard near our fence, and with get a pitchfork or something, and go through and kind of maneuver the soil when I'm ready to start planting, because we love radishes and salads, and it hasn't worked out this year. And our carrots, I'm leaving the carrots in. I think I might just rip out the radishes and just be done with them for the season. But I'm leaving the carrots in because I was able to harvest carrots for a Christmas dinner last year, which was super fun. And I know that there are a few in there, and they do get sweeter with the frost. So I'm leaving those in, but I think the radishes I'm just going to give another go and just treat them with more care next year. When I go over the things that I need to do to get ready, you'll see what my plans are. The next thing is don't plant peppers where they're going to get shaded. And this may seem like a really obvious thing, but I was under the impression that peppers would grow faster than they did. And then by the time I realized that they weren't going to, it was too late. I planted 2 cayenne pepper plants over here in this bed behind me, and I also planted 3 zucchini plants and a bunch of tomato plants. But the tomato plants are in the back, obviously, so that wasn't an issue. But the zucchini grew so quickly and got so big that the poor cayenne peppers got shaded out, and I just didn't get any. And I don't know, one of these years, like I said, one of these years I'm gonna get an abundant crop of all types of peppers, but this just wasn't the year. And now I know that I probably will not put peppers near a zucchini plant, because zucchini plants grow super quick. I mean, I was a little nervous that they were gonna overshadow my tomato plants, but I feel like I left my tomato plants, I transplanted them at a point where they were about ready to take off, and it was perfect. Like, they got big, and I got so many tomatoes this year. The next one is also about peppers, and I found that they grow super well in pots. The 2 pots that are on the patio did so well for me, and I planted sweet peppers in there. I think next year I might try a jalapeno and cayenne, and then maybe add another pot to do 2 of one or the other or whatever. But they did really well, and it gets a lot of sun on the patio, which I think is probably why. but also it's easier to like feed them when they're in the pots. Because I feel like out in the garden it's easy for the feed to like spread around to the area surrounding it. But yeah, I am going to try more hot peppers in pots next summer, and hopefully that will help me get some more abundance with hot peppers. We love sweet peppers, but we would love to have some hot peppers that we can use to make salsas and other things like that. And then the last thing is I found volunteer plants in the garden seem like stronger and healthier in some ways than the plants that I'm nurturing that I grew from seed. And I think that might just be because they're beating all the elements to grow. And this year, I have a really beautiful calendula that volunteered in this bed back here, and it's just beautiful. And then over actually near the patio, I have garlic chives in a pot, and I have oregano in a pot, and it must have I know that I let the garlic chives go to seed one year and didn't get them in time, so it makes sense that they have spread over there. But I have volunteer oregano, which I'm not mad about because it's so healthy and so tasty, and I love that it did that. But yeah, I'm like super impressed with volunteer plants, and I will always, with the exception of maybe like a tomato, because usually when I get the volunteer tomatoes, there's already tomatoes growing up around it, so I probably wouldn't leave volunteer tomatoes. But like volunteer herbs and stuff like that, and volunteer flowers for sure, I leave. And I just love what they've done this year over in that area off the patio. So the next section I'm going to go over is what I need to do out here to get ready for next year. I've already put some books on hold at the library, which is something I love to do between the beginning of November and January, because January is really when I like get into plan mode and I start planning out when I'm going to start seeds and what I'm going to grow and where I'm going to grow things. But I like to like get inspiration from garden books, and I feel like the library is such a great resource for that. So I've already got a few books on hold, which I'm excited about. But what I need to do next year is add new compost to every growing area. So not just these raised beds and the raised bed over there, but also where I'm going to be planting more pumpkins next year. I want to add some compost to the bed off the patio to make sure that we can get an abundance of flowers, make sure that our strawberries are good, all that. And have some compost for pots that I can add, like my wine barrel that has nasturtiums and marigolds growing in it right now. I planted peppers in it this year. Those did not do great. I did get one pretty good bell pepper off of one of the plants, but I don't know, for some reason they just didn't like it over there. And I'm wondering if it's because I didn't add new compost to it. I just added some like potting soil to it. I feel like maybe they also needed to be fed a little more, since they're like in the middle of the yard and it's a pot. So and then I want to work on soil health. Earlier in this video, towards the end of the garden cleanup clips that I showed you that I'm covering parts of the raised beds with leaves, because I feel like it helps with the nutrition. But I definitely want to focus on soil health this winter, and helping it, especially in the spring and when I'm ready to start growing again. Because I feel like it will help with abundance or more abundance, and my plants will be happier for it, and they'll reward me with more vegetables. And yeah, so that's something that I want to do to get ready, is get some more leaves on the parts of the soil that I have not planted with fall crops, like my kale and my broccoli, and I have 2 cabbages over here. But I feel like covering it with leaves will help a little bit as well. And then also I want to add more bird houses and like bug houses, or places where they can find sanctuary during these cold months. I want to like keep up on keeping them fed, and especially hummingbirds. I've found that we don't get a ton of birds back here because I haven't really kept up with feeding. Things just get away from me and I forget, and so it's like inconsistent, but I really want it to be more consistent. I want to find like an affordable place where I can buy affordable bird seed that they'll like, and definitely want to help the hummingbirds because I know they really struggle in the cold months as well. But yeah, I want to add more places for them around the yard, and hopefully that'll attract more wildlife to the yard. So the next section that I want to discuss is what I want to grow more of next year, and it's probably no surprise that the first one is going to be pumpkins. I had so much fun. It was my first year ever growing pumpkins as an adult by myself. We used to grow pumpkins in my dad's garden when we were young, and I don't remember ever having a super successful pumpkin year, but it was always fun to see them grow, and I loved it. And I want to grow different varieties and see what kind of yields that I can get next year. And I have a feeling, because I kept my big pumpkins on the vine for most of the season, that's why I only got 1 pumpkin per plant. So next year I'm gonna like do some experimenting and harvest some and see if I can't get more larger pumpkins. But I definitely want to try growing jack-o'-lantern, like carving pumpkins. I want to grow like some green varieties of pumpkins because I love the way they look for fall decoration, and more little pumpkins, which I loved. My Jack P. Little pumpkins just did so great. And maybe some little white pumpkins as well, and even maybe some of the varieties that are a little knobbly, like with the little warts on them. It's so fun to look out in the garden and just see pumpkins growing, even when they're just little baby ones. So definitely more pumpkins. More flower varieties. I planted more cosmos varieties. There was these beautiful ones with like white petals, but like the tips of the petals and like the very center around the yellow part where the pollen comes from, it was like purple, like a really beautiful light purple. They were so beautiful. But I want to grow, but I didn't get a good zinnia year this year. And I really love the way zinnias look, so I want to really focus on adding more of those. I did have a ton of them that were, I started from seed, but we went on vacation and they just got so leggy that they weren't even worth saving. And I did try to direct sow some also. I didn't get any. I got like 3 in a pot, and I'm pretty sure those were volunteers, but they didn't do very well because I didn't really do anything with that pot. But I want more zinnias. My sweet peas didn't really do anything this year, so I want to do more of that. I want to like research different varieties, stuff that will like encourage pollinators to come in and pollinate my garden, as well as get nectar for themselves. But yeah, so definitely cosmos are a staple in my garden. I didn't get very many marigolds this year. The only marigolds are in the wine barrel, which they're beautiful, right, in there, but I wanted them in other places, especially around my tomatoes. They're really good. A really good companion plant for tomatoes. But yeah, so more flower varieties. Radishes, I want more radishes. I'm gonna figure that out. I did have a lot of salad greens this year, but they got decimated by slugs. And once that happens, like, it's just not a very pleasant thing to think about, to eat them. We did, but I really, I would love, and I didn't grow any kale this year. I actually haven't grown kale for a long time. This crop of kale in the bed behind me is the first kale that I've planted for a really long time. So I want to focus on getting some more kale and more spinach and definitely more salad greens in, and I think it'll be like super healthy for us. We love salads, especially during the summer. I love sauteed kale. We love spinach. We love to add spinach to things. And I just think that we could really use some more greens in the garden. And the next is large tomato varieties. I grew, like, I'm pretty sure that the packet of heirloom tomatoes that I grew, like the larger variety, was like a variety pack. But I really want to focus on certain types of larger tomato varieties to grow next year, because it's just, I love tomatoes, especially, I love cherry tomatoes, but I feel like larger variety tomatoes are more good for like preserving, which is something that I want to do more of next year. My beans didn't really do anything this year, so I want to grow more beans next year, more basil. I did hit a few good plants of basil, but I did plant basil in spots that it got too much shade, and they just got very leggy and didn't really do anything before they started bolting. And then, of course, the last one is peppers. I want more peppers next year. I want an abundant crop, you know? I would love to figure out different ways to use peppers and just have an abundance of them. There's very few things that I want to grow less of, I'll be completely honest. But the first thing is zucchini. I grew way too many zucchini plants this year. We had so many zucchini that it was difficult to find people to take some. It was difficult to use it up, and so a lot of it went to waste, which I hate. I just cannot stand that. So next year I'm going to be growing less zucchini, but more pumpkins, because that's my trade-off, I think. And then nasturtium. I had a lot of nasturtium in the garden this year, and it's beautiful, and I love it. I had some over here in this bed next to my golden nugget tomatoes, and they trapped all the aphids. Like, there was no aphids on my tomatoes, but there was aphids all over the nasturtium, which they're great for that, right? But they spread so easily. They just dropped their seeds, and I've had nasturtium volunteering everywhere. So I want to grow less of them, but I do think that they are a useful plant, so I'm not going to cut them out completely, but definitely less. And then the last one, and it pains me to say, but it's cherry tomatoes. I had 4 cherry tomato plants this year, and yeah, 4 cherry tomato plants this year, and while I love it, actually no, more than 4, because I had the determinate variety, the golden nuggets, so I had so many cherry tomatoes coming out of my ears, and it gets very difficult to keep up with that, even though I love eating tomatoes and Jake loves eating tomatoes. But there was a point where I was like, I can't keep up. And then they started splitting because we got rain, and at that point it's just like, I feel like the tomatoes kind of start losing that like summer tomato flavor that I love. So I'm going to be growing less, and I think the varieties that I'm going to focus most on are my 2 favorites, which are the little red sweet cherry tomatoes, and then Sun Gold. That's my favorite. And then the last thing that I wanted to discuss is what my focuses for next year are. The first one, and I've mentioned this already, is soil health. I think that soil health is super important. If you watch any gardener, any garden creator, they will tell you that soil health is of the utmost importance if you want abundance in your garden. If you have healthy soil, you're going to have healthy plants that are going to produce for you. So that's something that I'm going to do a lot of research on this winter, and just, it's going to be a process, but it's something that I'm really excited to focus on and really excited about. And I just want to see what I can do out here. You know, we have a lot of space in the backyard, but like the growing space isn't, there's not a lot of that, right? So the spaces that I do grow in, I want it to have the healthiest soil possible. So that's something that I'm really going to try hard to focus on, and we'll see. And maybe I'll take you along in that journey and share with you what I'm learning. But yeah, take you along with the process. The next one is preservation. And I've already mentioned that we had an abundance of zucchini this year that went bad because I couldn't use it all or couldn't give away enough. I tried making relish. That didn't take, I mean, that took up like a big chunk of one harvest. But then I went out in the garden in the next few days and brought in like 7 more zucchini. So it's like, what am I going to do with this? But I want to research different methods of preservation. I know, well, I already know what the methods of preservation are, but I want to do more canning for sure. I bought a canner thing, obviously, because I made some zucchini relish, which is delicious, by the way. But I just want to make sure that we are not letting my hard work in the garden go to waste because we can't keep up with how much is coming out of the garden, if that makes sense. And I think also another focus that I want to do is I want to have more like dinner parties out on the patio and serve the people in my life the produce that we're growing, because that's super important to me, and it's like a sense of pride, and I love sharing with you all what I'm doing in my garden, but I love sharing with the people in my life even more what I'm doing in the garden, and to be able to feed them a meal with produce that's come from right where they're sitting. It's just, there's nothing cooler to me than doing that. The next one is attracting more pollinators, which goes back to wanting to grow more flower varieties. There is a bed here behind you next to the fence. It's got lilies in it and iris, and I don't know if this is a great spot for them. This bed gets very neglected. I don't do anything to it, but I want to try and find flowers that will grow, because these get pretty shaded, like there's not a lot of sun. So I want to find more sun-loving plants and flowers here, or to put here, and in different areas of the yard, and hopefully perennials so that I can nurture them every year. But that's one thing, like attracting pollinators is super important to me. That's just why I'm leaving the flowers up until they die off when it freezes. But yeah, that's something really important to me. And then the last thing is slug control, or slugs mostly, because slugs just, I planted 8 cabbage over here in this raised bed, and I only have 2 left because the slugs ate them. The slugs ate a bunch of lettuce this year. The slugs ate a bunch of my beans and pea plants this year. They ate a bunch of pumpkins and squash plants. They just love little sprouts. So I don't want to use a bunch of like pest control chemicals out here, but I want to find ways to keep them from eating my little baby plants. when I took the time to grow them inside and nurture them just to bring them out here for a slug's dinner. So that's definitely going to be a focus for next year, especially in the spring and later in the summer if we get more rain. You know, if I want to transplant little baby cabbages, and not to feed the slugs, but to feed our family. But yeah, so slug control. And that's going to be it for this video. I hope that you had a great time coming along with me on some fall cleanup and going over things that I've learned this year and what I want to grow more of and how I'm going to be preparing my garden, my growing areas for next year over these winter months. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up as it really supports my channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm hoping to do some more vlogging, like day in the life stuff over the winter months. I definitely will go over with you what I'm learning in my gardening books and like inspiration maybe to help you plan out your garden next year. And yeah, so look for more from me, and I'm hoping to share some festive stuff, like maybe Christmas decoration tour or something. I don't know if I'm gonna commit to a decorate with me this year, but yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully some festive stuff coming up, but definitely garden planning stuff and things that I'm learning and more day in the life type vlogs. But yeah, I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.